FM.
A very, very, very beautiful Tuesday. It is the 23rd day in the month of January 2023, and I'm super excited to welcome you to News Bolivian High Impact 102.1 FM. I am Sarah Oswant, and trust me, I'm not going to be having a conversation alone this morning.
Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, Krumale.
Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Tommy.
Good morning, Tommy. Well, so many things to look at. First off, I was just telling you before we came on in that the heat these days, I don't understand.
The sun.
Even at night, you'd expect that it's a bit better, but so hot.
Yes, I don't expect less, at least for now, until the rainy season comes.
Well, we'll just keep our fingers crossed and see how that comes out. But so many things to talk about this morning. Talking about the conversation on abductions. You know, yesterday we kick-started that conversation, stating how it had become an epidemic. And this morning we're getting updates as to how family of victims have said they don't report all the cases, that sometimes they have these cases and it's not reported.
Yeah, most
They
times.
just pay the ransom and that's
Quietly move.
That's it.
Well, I think that is it's not a good thing. None of this is good, because I listened, I read, and I watched sometimes, and they feel the only cases that get reported are the cases that have to do with some people that has what well to do in society, and that one of the reasons why you heard of cases in Abuja is because there are the people living in certain estates, and the kidnappers infiltrated those estates to go pick up the people.
How about those
other
that
cases
are not well-to-do?
Well-to-do, they don't know the way and manner they can make it open. Especially most of the time, maybe they make it open when they are unable to provide to gather the money to pay ransom. And we've been preaching against payment of ransom. We didn't start yesterday. We've been saying that since time immemorial, since the issue of kidnapping and terrorism took a very, very dangerous dimension. We know as well that including the government is preaching against payment of ransom, but it just people needed to just do that because they needed to secure their loved ones, alive from the kidnappers then. And we don't want to start mentioning the Nabia case recently.
The most recent one.
Yes, and what happened and how the father could be feeling now, even though yesterday or the previous day he had received the rest of his family members from the kidnappers then. So the thing is, we believe, or will I say believe, Nigerians from questions and my interactions with the Nigerians can take care of this. Nigerian soldier, the Nigerian government can take care of this kidnapping and terrorism menace across the country.
Actually.
Why is it growing hydra-headed heads? Why is it become an hydra-headed problem? It's already become an hydra-headed problem. Why is it growing fangs? Why is it not abating? Why is it not abating? Why does it still continue? Why does it appear as if the people are at the mercy of those who are constituting this dastardly act?
It just looks like they just unleashed a side to them that they had been keeping for a while. When this kidnapper started initially, we used to hear the cases, but not so frequently. But all of a sudden, towards the end of last year into this year, it felt like there was a sort of audacity that just came upon them that, nothing is going to happen. and they went out with full force, spread their tents to other parts of the country. Before it was majorly in the northwest, the northern part of the country, but now, even in the south, the east, Lagos, Abuja, passing major highways now is a risk. And then you still ask yourself the question, what are our security chiefs doing?
And speaking to Abdul Hamid yesterday, you could see where he came from on the perspective with which he interrogated the issue. Like, when people commit a crime, they were unable to be arrested, and the ransoms were paid, and not in one occasion, not in two occasions. It's almost becoming a norm for ransoms to get paid before victims of kidnap get freed. It emboldens other unscrupulous elements to go into it. And the fact that the banks are being accused and alleged of being culpable and, in their own illicit act, promoting or making kidnapping an industry, promoting the act of making kidnapping an industry, it's another issue to be dealt with. Also, the Nigerian Communications Commission is not excluded from this. The BVNs, the numbers that these kidnappers used to make calls.
Exactly.
The BVNs that are associated to the account numbers that some of those kidnappers used to collect ransom.
Because they make, even if they hide, there's something where people can hide their number, make it unknown caller, private number. With the fact that those people are like an authority in charge of communications, there's a way they can actually
find out. They have the facility to unveil that. Yes, they do. They have the facility and the technology. I want to believe we have it. And the Nigerian Communications Commission can do that in collaboration with the security agencies. And Mr. President will need to be different from his predecessors. It needs to be different. And the only way it can be different is tackling the case of insecurity. If he's unable to tackle the case of insecurity, it won't be a good thing. And I know Nigerians want him to succeed in that regard. Well, that's just tip of the iceberg of what will be coming on the newspaper review this morning. Let's briefly go on a break, and when we're back, we'll jump into the main business of the day. It's the newspaper review, reaching you live from our studios at High Impact 102.1 FM. Do stay with us.
Join us Mondays to Fridays, 7:05 a.m. for newspaper reviews, headlines, analysis, and comments on your urban lifestyle station. High Impact 102.1 FM.
Put a touch of class and finesse on your brand by advertising with us at High Impact 1021 FM. For more information,
call 0706 393 5694, 0915 958 1881, or 0902 745 3931.
Follow us on our social media platforms at High Impact 1021 FM. Our deals are hotter than the weather itself.
Our deals are hotter than the weather itself.
Join us Mondays to Fridays, 7:05 a.m. for newspaper reviews, headlines, analysis, and comments on your urban lifestyle station. High Impact 102.1 FM.
Welcome back. You're still listening to Newspaper Review on High Impact 102.1 FM. Krumale and I are still here taking a look at the stories making the rounds on the dailies this morning. And right now, let's kick off with what we have on the front pages of the newspapers. We start off with the Punch newspaper. Do not forget you can be a part of the conversation. The phone lines are opened. Call us, let us know your thoughts on these headlines or any other story you'd like to contribute to. 0700-1021-1021. I take that again. 0700-1021-1021 is the number to call. Send a WhatsApp message to 0907-224-5018. Straight into the conversation of the day with the Punch newspaper this morning. Kidnapping epidemic. Most abductions in Abuja, others not reported. That's coming from the victim's family. And the writer says, Okota, others gain notoriety as kidnapping hotspots in Lagos. Okota. Even around Bagada Expressway.
Yeah.
There has been an intel. So I learned, someone was telling me that last week, some persons were kidnapped on the this Bagada Expressway.
Bagada Expressway there.
Yeah. They use this mini buses that they call
mini
Korokwe.
commercial buses.
Yes. So we need to be safe out there. Why kidnap cases are underreported, that's coming from AI and private investigators. You get more details of that story on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Central Bank of Nigeria may raise bank's capital base to 900 billion naira. That's a report.
I saw that coming since the government wants to run.
Right.
Yeah.
You can get more details of that story on page 21 of the Punch newspaper. Beside that story, reducing cabinet will affect performance, Tinubu insists. Reducing cabinet will affect performance, Tinubu insists. Looking at the lean government, right?
Yes.
Get details on page 22. Dangote Cement hits 10 trillion naira capitalization. Dangote Cement hits 10 trillion naira capitalization. That's on page 25 of the Punch newspaper. NSCDC destroys 4 rivers illegal refineries. That's a page 29 read. Makinde presents Ibadan explosion reports to Tinubu. Would like to see how they said they were going to open a forensic investigation and probe yesterday.
Okay.
So today, Makinde presents Ibadan explosion report to Tinubu. Want to see what it looks like? Get details on page 28 of the Punch newspaper. 6,700 traders' goods lost to Mandila's building fire. This took place on Sunday, and this statistics is from NEMA. Get get reports on pages 4 and 5. And lastly, Akeredolu for burial, February 23rd. Akeredolu for burial February 23rd says family. Get details on page 29, and those are the stories on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning.
And the number to call into the program is 0700 1021 1021. That is 0700 1021 1021. You can send WhatsApp message to our WhatsApp line on 0907 224 5018 0907 224 5018. And now we're bringing you stories making the rounds on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. The central caption says, Rumpus over relocation of federal agencies to Lagos. Rumpus over relocation of federal agencies to Lagos. That is the central story. It's on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. And above the nameplate, we have some stories there. Non-oil export fall 24% to $4.46 billion. That's according to the CBN data. Non-oil exports fall 24% to $4.46 billion, according to CBN data. 2023 African Cup of Nations. Super Eagles in lackluster win over Guinea-Bissau as Equatorial Guinea crushed Cote d'Ivoire. That story is on page 30. Court of Appeal 16 sacked Plateau PDP lawmakers to resume plenary today. Court of Appeal 16 sacked Plateau PDP lawmakers to resume plenary today. It's on page 13 of the Vanguard newspaper. Still on the topmost section of the Vanguard, Tinubu sensitive to Nigeria's challenges. That's coming from Khan. Tinubu sensitive to Nigeria's challenges. That's coming from the Christian Association of Nigeria. Moving on to other stories on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. Kidnapping. Tinubu approves emergency procurement of tracking equipment. Tinubu approves emergency procurement of tracking equipment. I think this is good. However, I think it should not be only, procured for the Federal Capital Territory. It should be procured for the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory.
Because it's not only in the Federal Capital Territory, we're
We have
getting reports of insecurity and kidnapping.
A lot of farms in southern Kaduna, a lot of farms in the southwestern part of the country, in Ekiti State, in Ogun State, has been taken over by herders. And
Right.
some of these herders who invade those farms to constitute arm, to kill farmers, to send their cattle to graze on the farms. They need to be tracked. And not just tracked, the law enforcement agencies need to arrest these persons.
Actually.
Because I do not understand if they do not know that these are farms and that the cattle were not supposed to go graze on it. I just do not understand that. The logic behind that action is still baffling. Kidnapping. Tinubu approves emergency procurement of tracking equipment. Federal government to fund students loan scheme with education tax. That's according to the FIRS boss. Federal government to fund student loan scheme with education tax according to Federal Inland Revenue Service boss. Daddy, don't allow them kill us. Father of kidnapped sisters recount daughter's ordeal in captivity. And straight to other stories. Rivers crisis, confusion over conflicting court orders. Confusion over conflicting court orders. That's in the Rivers crisis. Moving on, still other stories on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. Over 1.1 million new COVID-19 cases recorded in 28 days globally. That's according to the World Health Organization.
COVID-19, a lot of people actually thought that
It's gone for
it's
good.
gone, and but then they've been talking about how if you've been vaccinated, you're protected against the virus, amongst other things. I'm sure that some measures will start to come back into enforcement, then putting some sort of distance, social distancing, use of face masks, hand sanitizers were compulsory, reducing the number of people in a gathering, amongst
Social
others.
distancing, right? Okay, that's over 1.1 million new COVID-19 cases recorded in 28 days globally, according to the World Health Organization. Federal government and governors to suspend nuisance taxes nationwide, says a presidential committee. Federal government and governors to suspend nuisance taxes nationwide, says a presidential committee. And those are the stories making the rounds on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper.
Zero 700-1021-1021 is the number to call. Send a WhatsApp message to 0907-224-5018. Very quickly, because of our time, we move to the Daily Trust newspaper. On the front page, Tinubu pushes for Kwakwansil Ganduje reconciliation as APC chair meets Kano stakeholders on Thursday. You want to read that up? There's a pictorial representation of the Imo State Governor, Yobe State Governor, and the Minister of Police Affairs at the flag-off campaign for Yobe East Senatorial District by-election in Damaturu yesterday. Away from that story, lackluster Nigeria reach knockout stage after beating Guinea-Bissau. I was telling, because I was watching the match yesterday, and at the point I was angry because, what is going on? And then when the player from Guinea-Bissau scored that own goal, I told my friend, I said, "See, I'm happy for Nigeria
That they won.
but an own goal, don't come for me. Don't come for me, right? An own goal, well, it just came in that way. The player from Guinea-Bissau scored an own goal. He was trying to, pass the ball out, and he scored into his own goal post, and it was awarded to Nigeria. But congratulations to Nigeria for beating
like we should have scored 3 goals.
Maybe if they had scored a goal like
they did in the previous game.
Maybe before they come for me, I'm happy for Nigeria.
So you mean in this first 3 matches we've only scored 1 goal and we've conceived 1 goal? Not a good performance. Cote d'Ivoire got crushed, 4-0.
Right.
And we only dealt with them.
Cote
just
d'Ivoire
one.
got crushed in their home.
In their home.
house.
In their house.
Well, lackluster Nigeria reaches knockout stage after beating Guinea-Bissau. You get details on page 39 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Northern senators consider legal action over planned relocation of CBN, FAAN offices. That's a page 6 read. How we are living with threats of bandits. That's coming from the FCT and Niger communities. That's a page 3 read. Moving on, 335 deaths, 2,055 injuries recorded in traffic accidents in 1 month. That's according to the FRSC. That's a page 10 read. Beneath that story, dad backs live jail for sexually assaulting 3 children. 3 children. It's interesting to see that justice has been served, but then these children need to go through some sort of rehabilitation. It's a psychological thing. They need to get themselves back. But you get details on page 21. And lastly, murdered Nabiha bagged first class. That's coming from her uncle. This is so sad and painful. Nabiha, the one of them was murdered and she bagged a first class. This is very sad. And I don't even know how to react to that. But you get details on page 20 of the Vanguard, rather of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. And that's it on the Daily Trust newspaper.
Zero 1021 that is 0700 1021 1021. You can send WhatsApp message to 0907 224 5018 0907 224 5018. We're off to the Guardian newspaper. 6 years after electrification project, varsities, hospitals in darkness as federal government $105 million power project flops. 6 years after electrification project, varsities, hospitals in darkness as federal government $105 million power project flops. It's on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Terrorists in military uniform abduct 30 persons in Katsina State. Terrorists in military uniform abduct 30 persons in Katsina State. Look at the level of audacity, the level of brigandage. Well, moving on to other story, you get that story on page 30, news page 30 of the Guardian newspaper. Federal government to fund student loan scheme from education talks. That's on page 3, page 3 read on the news page. Moving on to other stories, constabularies, how not to reform, practice state policing for better security. Constabularies, how not to reform, practice state policing for better security. Kidnapping, Tinubu okays emergency procurement of tracking equipment. Kidnapping, Tinubu okays emergency procurement of tracking equipment. It's on news page 3. Liberia's new president suffers heat stroke during inauguration. Joseph Boakai is the Liberian new president. He defeated a sitting president and former world football champion who bagged the Ballon d'Or during his time when he was still playing football. That's George Weah. I think George Weah is one of the most, for me, I think he's the best footballer in the world. Not just the Ballon d'Or. I think most people would say at that time that they wouldn't really call it the Ballon d'Or. I know Tommy would know much more about that.
Right.
That is not, is it really the Ballon d'Or that George Weah backed during his time? It's the Ballon d'Or. I think he's the best footballer in the world for me. Not just did he back the Ballon d'Or, he also became the president of his country. It's a feat that the former Diego Armando Maradona tried to achieve, but he could not. And it's also a feat that the Ronaldo de Lima of Brazil was trying to achieve. I didn't know if he was trying to contest for presidential position too in his country in Brazil, but he was unable to do that. But George Weah has been able to do that. Maybe Messi should give it a try. When he retires from football, he can go into politics to become the president of Argentina.
Right.
Moving away from that, okay, that's Liberia's new president suffers its stroke during inauguration. Moving on away from that story, crisis looms as sacked Plateau lawmakers resume. Crisis looms as sacked Plateau lawmakers resume. Northern senators fold a lopsided 2024 budget relocation of the CBN and FAN officers. Northern senators fold a lopsided 2024 budget relocation of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria officers. And DISCOs compelled to meter 715,000 users this year to reduce 8 million coverage gap. It's on the business news page 15 of the Guardian newspaper. And lastly, Lastly, let local governments run according to the Constitution. That's an editorial of the Guardian newspaper. Let local governments run according to the Constitution. And those are the stories making the rounds on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Immediately we'll go on a break, and when we return, we'll jump into the second segment of our newspaper review this morning. Do stay with us. I'm reaching you live from our studios. Good morning.
Join us Mondays to Fridays, 7:05 a.m. for newspaper reviews, headlines, analysis, and comments on your urban lifestyle station. High Impact 102.1 FM.
Put a touch of class and finesse on your brand by advertising with us at High Impact 1021 FM. For more information,
Call 0706 393 5694, 0915 958 1881, or 0902 745 3931.
follow us on our social media platforms at High Impact 1021 FM. Our deals are hotter than the weather itself.
Our deals are hotter than the weather itself.
Join us Mondays to Fridays, 7:05 a.m. for newspaper reviews, headlines, analysis, and comments on your urban lifestyle station. High Impact 102.1 FM.
Do you know bad production can kill a great content idea?
Do you want to have a photo shoot, audio production, or do you need a professional voiceover artist?
Do you simply want unmatched cinematography, video production, or just event coverage, such as weddings, birthdays, or burials?
Or do you need a space for meetings or conferences? All these are possible with High Impact Studios. Don't bring down your creativity, let's help you take it high.
And out of this world with our state-of-the-art equipment and first-class studio space.
We give you the quality you deserve at the best rate.
For more details, call 0706 393 5694 or 0915 958 1881. High Impact Studios, the future.
Put a touch of class and finesse on your brand by advertising with us at High Impact 1021 FM. For more information,
Call 0706 393 5694, 0915 958 1881, or 0902 745 3931.
follow us on our social media platforms at High Impact 1021 FM. Our deals are hotter than the weather itself.
Our deals are hotter than the weather itself.
Venue on the Sea. A perfect and top-notch location for your special social and corporate occasions. Here at High Impact Cruise, we handle your events with elegance while providing you with outstanding service. An amazing experience you will never forget. For more inquiries, call 0815-181-9580, 0818-824-5734, or visit www.highimpactcruise.com. High Impact Cruise, dream, discover, explore.
Put a touch of class and finesse on your brand by advertising with us at High Impact 1021 FM. For more information,
Call 0706 393 5694, 0915 958 1881, or 0902 745 3931.
follow us on our social media platforms at High Impact 1021 FM. Our deals are hotter than the weather itself.
Our deals are hotter than the weather itself.
Join us Mondays to Fridays, 7:05 a.m. for newspaper reviews, headlines, analysis, and comments on your urban lifestyle station. High Impact 102.1 FM.
Welcome back. Many thanks for joining us on the program. It's the newspaper review. And we've taken a look at stories making the rounds and front pages of the newspaper. Now, if we look at the case in Rivers State and how on front of the Vanguard newspaper, it says Rivers crisis, confusion over conflicting court orders. I think when there was crisis in Rivers State, you know, the last time I spoke with Barrister Abdulhamid, I asked the question, because if lawmakers are elected in the platform of a political party into the National Assembly, either the Senate or the House of Representatives, they're not supposed to defect. Of course, we know Ifeanyi Ubah of the Young Progressives Party, YPP, defected from YPP to the All Progressives Congress, which is the APC. And even if there's a law that even if they're going to defect, probably that party, the party should be going through some form of crisis. And I think they have, the lawyers have a way of backing, specifying and giving definition to the crisis that should be happening in the party that would necessitate the defection from one political party to the other, because it seems, and a lot of people, not just a lot of people, even society finds it very, very abnormal and something that is so incorrect and undemocratic for you to get elected on the platform of a political party, and whilst you are serving that tenure in of that political party in the National Assembly, you're now defected to another political party. So due to the crisis, I will not say it was it even the crisis in the PDP or the crisis in Rivers State government, which was between the House of Assembly and the House, the executive arm of government, that made the 16 lawmakers. Was it 16 lawmakers? That made a vast majority of the lawmakers, except for 4 of them, to defect from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress. And so one of the courts in Rivers State had to, was it in Rivers State? One of the courts had to nullify their positions or their defections. And which made Mr. Fubara went into the State House of Assembly to present the budget to just 4 members of the lawmakers in the House of Assembly, just the way the court is nullifying that particular process, because there was another court in the Federal Capital Territory that it seems to be upholding the defection of the lawmakers to another political party. This impasse, when are we going to see the end? That's one question we are putting out there. When are we going to see the end of this? And for Mr. Fubara, I am so sorry that this might present some form of distraction to his government for the 4 years that he needs to be on that saddle at this moment. Right,
I agree with you. But I would like to, move our attention from that to this story of 2024 budget allocations lopsided against the North. According to Northern Senators, now 58 lawmakers who are under the aegis of the Northern Senators Forum have alleged that the projections and provisions of the 28.7 trillion naira 2024 budget are unfair to the North. They also alleged that some federal agencies were being relocated to Lagos. I'd like to get your reaction to this.
Well, those federal agencies, you're talking about the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria and the Central Bank of Nigeria. In what way does the presence of the CBN in the Federal Capital Territory, profit the Federal Capital Territory? Is it an investment to the North? It's an investment for the general country. Moving it away, is it taking away any advantage from the northern part of the country and bringing it to the southern part of the country? That's one issue they need to establish. It is a federal government institution, and the federal government has, I feel, the federal government has the prerogative on where it should be. So if the government is bringing it down to Lagos, well, the CBN, was it not in Abuja before? Was it not in Lagos? Either the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, I was thinking, was in Lagos before. No, it wasn't. It was in the Federal Capital Territory. Because during Buhari's administration, he relocated a few, or if not just one of the ministries from Lagos, the headquarters, down to the Federal Capital Territory, down to Abuja. If it's not going to bring any advantage, is it going to make it perform better?
Exactly, like
is
this relocation has to have a reason. There has to be for them to actually wake up and say, okay, you know what, we want to relocate these federal agencies to Lagos from wherever they were. I'm sure they have thought it through. They have looked at certain factors that would benefit those agencies and the government at large. And I think it's in the interest of every one of us. But the Northerners, this sort of feels like they are being, this conversation is starting to seem like they feel they are being sidelined or something.
Sidelined in what way? It's a federal agency. It's a national, it's the bank that regulates other bank. What advantage does it give to the North? Or if since Mr. President is relocating them to the South now, what advantage did he give to the South? Is he giving to the South? Is he shortchanging the North? I think they need to make that clear. Right. Lopsided allocation between the North and the South in the 2024 budget, arguing that the development was designed to further underdevelop the North. What is currently underdeveloping the North is insecurity. Terrorism is underdeveloping the North. Kidnapping is underdeveloping the North. About 76 farmers some years ago during Buhari's administration were massacred in the North, and that affected rice production because terrorists took over that terrain. It affected local rice production in the country, and not too long, towards the last part of this year, some few rice farmers as well were kidnapped and massacred. Those are the things bringing underdevelopment to Nigeria. Because the North is the food basket of the nation. Now, it is not far-fetched that we have staple foods on the high side in the economy. It is not the relocation of the Central Bank of Nigeria or the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria.
Are not safe.
When the farmlands in the North are not safe, the people in the South who feed from the farmlands in the North are getting the eats.
Farmers are not even safe.
So that is where the Northerners. Okay, fine. A few days ago, we heard that the Arewa Consultative Forum and the governors were meeting to tackle or to discuss and debate issues regarding insecurity. I think that's the right direction to go, not the relocation. The relocation of the CBN from the North or from the Federal Capital Territory to Lagos. How does that bring underdevelopment to the North?
Well,
yes, Afenifere stepped in. The Middle Belt Forum stepped in. They flayed the senators for giving the impression that Nigeria wasn't yet a nation, stressing that what was paramount was the result. It will be recalled that the Arewa Consultative Forum had also expressed the same position as the northern senators. The CBN's decision is by no means isolated or normal administrative action to fix a logistics problem. Rather, it fits into a disturbing pattern of antagonistic actions often taken by certain federal administrations against the interests of the northern and other parts of the country. No, I think they should hit the nail on the head. They are not doing that. How does that should change the North? They need to make that very, very plain.
Saying that the development was designed to underdevelop the North. Like,
ow,
it's so funny. It sounds so funny and outrageously ridiculous.
Insecurity, terrorism, banditry, illegal mining.
Because if I have a business, or I have an idea, or I want to establish something, my first thought will not actually be to go to the North. Why? Because I know that insecurity would probably affect that business and stop it from thriving. So why would I want to invest in a business in a place where it's not even safe to do business? Imagine I want to open a poultry farm, or I want to open a farmland, rice farm, or what have you, and I decide to go to the North when I know that farmers are being attacked on their farmland every day. What is going to happen? So we're not channeling attention to the important things, like you said, which is the insecurity. So why come and say relocation of these federal agencies is a move to underdeveloped enough?
It could be that they have some other information which the presence of the federal agencies brings to Abuja, brings to the North. And besides, Abuja is the center of power. It belongs to everyone. It doesn't seem like it's a northern. Well, we want to equally say that the insecurity is not only in the northern parts of the country. Insecurity is also in the southern part of the country where there's excessive kidnapping. There's kidnapping on the highways, kidnapping in areas. In Lagos, you just mentioned, Okota is a hotspot for kidnapping, as we saw in the papers, and the Bagada expressway itself. So insecurity is not just in the northern part, it's across board, and that's why both the president and the governors of the 36 states need to put hands together to make sure that it becomes a thing of the past. Just getting monitoring equipment or tracking equipment, it may not really solve the matter, but a strong political will, and given all that is required by the Nigerian military, the Nigerian police, the Nigerian army, the Nigerian navy, and the air force to tackle insecurity will bring a reprieve, huge reprieve to Nigerians across board.
Right. Talking about this Ibadan explosion, the chairman of the head of Emergency Operations Center, Professor Temitope Alonge, has come out to say that aside the dead bodies that were recovered from the rubbles, they also picked up body parts from the epicenter of the blast. This came as the Minister of Solid Mineral Development in person of Dr. Dele Alake. He was in Abuja, rather Ibadan. He was in Ibadan to assess the situation after the explosion, and he said whoever was found to be culpable would be dealt with decisively. The governor, Seyi Makinde, over the weekend presented a report on the explosion to President Tinubu at the presidential villa, where so far 5 persons have been confirmed dead and 77 people were said to have been injured. And according to Dele Alake, many of the buildings within the 500-meter radius did not pass the integrity test.
230 buildings, actually. 58 houses were completely taken out by the explosion, and 230 buildings now has failed the integrity test. 230 plus, that means that those 230 houses that have failed integrity test will need to be brought down. That is the implication. So let's say 230 plus 58 houses. That's almost 300 houses, because that's like 280 something houses.
Apparently, these illegal miners have harbored the explosive for years. And that was what he was saying, that he's asking himself, he's wondering how these people were able to, store this explosive for years and it went undetected. Like, And he also added that he was surprised at the caliber of people who live at the high-profile place like Bodija, who have access to the authorities, that such a destructive weapon could be hidden for such a long time without them alerting the security agents.
That's if they have knowledge of
exactly. What if they didn't know about it?
It was the Nigerian police force and other security agencies like the customs or the Nigerian army that should be aware of the movement of such a lethal weapon that can destroy massive spans of land and bring devastating destruction to lives and property. If the way and manner an explosive is packaged, if an ordinary Nigerian, an average Nigerian sees it physically, will he be able to tell that these are explosives? Except they are military personnel, except they are the police officers, except they are soldiers. So, except probably if they have knowledge that such as was being kept there or illicit activities, was ongoing there. And those who were residing there did not raise the alarm. And this goes out to all Nigerians. When you say, whenever you see something, say something. It is not just a saying. It's not just a cliche. You need to say something. If you see faces you've not seen in your vicinity before, parole just moving around in your vicinity suspiciously. If you see trucks suspiciously or vehicles moving into buildings and houses to offload things,
you should be able to raise a question that what is going on.
The Nigerian police have numbers out there that you can call. The DSS have numbers out there that they have put in public domain. If you don't have their numbers, you can equally go to their site, the Nigerian police site. You have numbers of the authorities that you can reach. You can report anything. The way insecurity is currently ongoing in the country and in Nigeria, if your suspicion of the movement of people around your vicinity or your house where you stay or the activities or whatever they do, you're just suspicious, feel free to call the police, to call the DSS, report such cases. If you need to take pictures with your mobile phone, take it. Just make sure you are not caught. As far as you are sending it to the security agencies to report any of such cases, because if someone had done that in Ibadan, Bodija, I'm sure the officers, the military would have swung into action, and this devastating loss wouldn't have happened.
Actually,
and like I listened to other journalists who were analyzing and talking about this issue, is beyond issues of illegal mining. It's beyond that. It's beyond that. Whether it's the forensic test or the forensic report, what is it going to expose other than what is currently known now? It's beyond that. And what if people are storing these weapons, these explosives, to deploy them to carry out destructive activities in the southwestern part of the country? Sure. What if some of these unscrupulous elements are storing same in other parts of the state, in Oyo State? What about Ogun State? What about Ondo State? So the security officers, the security agencies need to be on their toes. They need to be on their alert. In fact, the way if there's a way they can detect bombs miles away, they need to deploy such technology and such equipment to make sure that the lives of people are safe.
I agree with you, and this leaves us to encourage you to look out, be conscious if you notice anything that is not normal or looks very different from what you see in your community. It's okay to raise an alarm or inform the appropriate authorities about it. But our time is fast spent and we have to go. Thank you so much for joining us on the Tuesday edition of the Newspaper Review on High Impact 102.1 FM. Remember to follow us across all of our social media platforms at High Impact 102.1 FM and news around the globe on the Sports. We'll see you tomorrow. Do stay safe and have a fantastic Tuesday. I am Sarah, also and said bye.
Moyin Priya Kromale, good morning to you.
Join us Mondays to Fridays, 7:05 a.m. for newspaper reviews, headlines, analysis, and comments on your urban lifestyle station. High Impact 102.1